All right, everybody, we are back. It's been a long time since we've done one of these, and glad to be back. Sorry we've been away for so long. And you will all be happy to know that you're not just stuck with me today. We have our favorite mother in the building. Here she is. Happy Mother's Day, everybody, by the way. And we're happy to have Angie back. She agreed after the last time she did this that it wasn't that bad and that she would be happy to do these more regularly. So here we go.
Hi, everyone. Happy Mother's Day to everyone.
You can talk. Um, so we just want to start out with a few things like we normally do at the beginning. And so one of the cool things to do up here this time of year is at Glacier Park. Right now, I wrote it down. You don't have to have the extra pass to get in. And from May 26th to September 10th, you have to have the extra pass that you should have bought a month ago for $2 a day to get in. But right now, you don't need that. So Angie and her friends, which I will let her explain it, when they rode their bikes, I'll quit talking.
On Thursday, it was very pretty out, and the road was only open to Lake McDonald Lodge. So we took our bikes and we rode from Lake McDonald Lodge to Avalanche Lake Campground. It's only about a 5 mile bike ride. And then we hiked up to Avalanche Lake, which is only about a 2 mile hike up to the lake. And we hiked back out and rode our bikes back to the trucks. And it was a great day. We pretty much had the lake to ourselves. The only, and again, problem, because of all of the road construction, even on bikes, we had to do a pilot car. So, Will, do you show those or how to? There we go. Yeah. Yep. Did I do it correctly?
Yes, the picture is up and you can
Yeah.
explain it.
So they've torn up all the road, all the way to Lake McDonald Lodge, and then they're working on it for about a mile and a half, 2 miles from the lodge. And so we got stopped, and you had to have a pilot car. You had to even follow a pilot car on bikes, and they're just huge semis of dump truck type of semis that are hauling, I guess, road material, and they just don't want anyone to, obviously die. So, yeah, so we had to do that. But this lady holding the stop sign was super, super nice. And then on the way up there, one of the gals, the cog on her bike, I mean, it completely broke off of her bike. So we stashed her bike, and we were only probably a mile and a half from the trailhead, and we just kind of took turns, relay, racing type of thing. Someone would walk or run on the downhill. Somebody got on somebody else's bike and kind of rode like we were, eight again. So it was a fun day. And then on the way back, the pilot car lady was nice enough to put her bike in the back and put Vivian in the back. So yeah, it was a great day. And I guess that on yesterday, they did open the road all the way to Avalanche Lake, so you can drive all the way there now. And then I believe, Will, and maybe I think you checked the website. You can you do it? Can you bike ride up going to the sun just on the weekends right now? Is and after hours?
I believe so. I didn't check that, but that's normally how it works. And you can only go, they obviously have not plowed all the way up to Logan Pass yet, or they haven't reached Logan Pass yet. So you can only obviously bike to where they've finished plowing. But yeah, they don't want you up there. It used to be the way. I don't know if it's any different this year. It's probably not with all this construction going on, but it used to be uh, where you could only do it on weekends and after 4 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock. I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
show
And
the
there
other photos you have.
So here's Avalanche Lake. So once we got to the top, there wasn't that much snow. So they must be making some pretty good progress, getting up to the very top, because sometimes you'll go up there this time of year and you'll see full on avalanches coming down, from the top of those mountains, and there really just wasn't that much snow. And because of the road construction and everything, we had the lake to ourselves. There was one other couple there for a little while, and here's what we haul up to the top. But everybody kind of makes a different food, and yeah, we bring different things. And yeah, that was the wildlife we saw. We full on expected. We were like, oh my gosh, we'll see some wildlife today, because there aren't very many people. But we kind of joke that, with all six of us talking, there's no wonder we don't see any wildlife. So
Yes, that group of girls can talk. So
yeah,
there probably wasn't a bear within 100 miles of that
right. The bears
crowd.
were running.
Yeah. So anyway, that was that. And then the other thing that happened this week was, well, it was last week actually. There was and I had people reach out. Everyone thought this was a tornado. I didn't even realize that this wasn't a tornado. There's a thing called a land spout that happens in colder climates like this. So it did absolutely no damage. It was more, everyone on the planet that was down there was posting pictures of this on the internet. But I looked it up because I had someone reach out. I don't know if that's very big on your screen at home, but it tells a different type of tornadoes. And again, I had never heard of a land spout, but apparently that's what that was. And it did no damage at all. It was more of a spectacle for everyone. And but I had somebody reach out to me and ask about insurance, and if you need or will insurance cover tornado damage. And I've lived here for over 20 years, and this is the first thing that even remotely looked like a tornado. And then, like I said, it was not. It's not like the tornadoes you get in the Midwest. Angie here grew up in this area and has been here forever. Sorry, I'm trying to get rid of the photo. You probably don't ever remember a tornado in your life, do you?
No, not at all.
So yeah, the tornadoes are nothing that people need to be worried about if you're coming out here, moving out here, thinking about moving out here. The only what would you call it? The only natural disaster, I guess, would be forest fires that we get here. But again, even with those, we have so much open land and, so many acres of forest land that, if you're down in the towns, that those aren't really a concern either, other than some smoke occasionally. But yeah, so that was the big thing last week that got everybody talking online.
Hey, Will, and somebody asked, how are the fire conditions? People worried about
Well,
the
here we
heat
can put
dome.
that up. Do you want to put that up, or you want me to?
You
I'll
can.
do it. How are the fire conditions? People worried about the heat dome. It's so early in the year right now. Nobody's really talking about fires yet. We didn't get as much snow up in this part of the state as the southern part of the state, and then the southern U.S. or southern U.S. Southwest. The Utah and California, and they got hammered. They got feet and feet and feet of snow. We were a little bit below normal. We just didn't have, all those storms that came through this winter just hammered the kind of the middle part of the country there, middle part of the West, I should say. And We didn't get as much. So, maybe fires will be an issue this year, but every year you try and figure out what they're going to be like. You never know. I mean, we've had years where it just rains and rains and rains until basically the middle or end of June. And then by August, we have bad fires. It just depends on, how much rain you get throughout the season. The snowpack itself, I haven't noticed, I don't know, maybe you can chime in, Angie, about, what causes bad years and what doesn't.
Yeah, I'm not, I mean, growing up here, I don't, I'm not for clear cutting, I don't know if that had, anything to do with, I just don't remember forest fires like we have now. But there was a lot of logging in our area. That was one of the main industries for a long time until probably the late 80s, early 90s. And then, it kind of, yeah, different groups got involved and we don't have logging here as much. And we certainly seem to have more forest fires. And there again, I'm certainly not for clear cutting, but it seems like there needs to be some type of middle of the road. It just, yeah, you just don't know. I mean, it's lightning, it's man-made, all that kind of stuff. So it's different year to year. And it's no fun when August, when you have smoky Augusts. It's beautiful up here, and that changes everything. So hopefully this year we won't have any.
There you go. So hello from Algeria. That's quite a ways away. And
Yes,
then we have Maria,
Maria.
our favorite friend from Condon, Montana.
Ah,
Condon area.
yeah, having dinner at Abruzzo tonight.
Happy Mother's Day, Maria. Let's see. Any idea when the construction on the Sun Road will be over? Not this year. Isn't it? They're almost, it's been about a 10-year, it seems like they've been doing it in sections for the past, it's got to be close to 10 years. They're getting close to being done. And I suppose once they're done, they'll have to start over again. But yeah, I know that this year, where Angie was talking about earlier, all the way down Lake McDonald, it sounds like they're going to have work going on. It looked like in that one picture, where is it? I guess it's this picture here. You can see they had cut out the asphalt and they're repaving it. And I believe because last year they ran a pipe of some sort. Wasn't it a sewer line to Lake McDonald Lodge or something? All the way from Lake McDonald Lodge back to Apgar. And so they dug a trench down the middle of the road. So now I guess they're just repaving it so it's a better road. But as far as when it will be done, it will not be this year. You can obviously still get in the park with it going on, but there's a lot of work to be done. And I mean, that road, if you haven't been up there, that road is kind of one of the 7 wonders of the world, how they even built that thing. So the maintenance they have to do on it is pretty, I guess, not to be or to be expected, I should say. So
yeah, well, it's just so narrow. I mean, you have a mountain on one side and the lake on the other, and it just, it
and then when
seems
you
like
get
they
up
finish.
high,
Yeah, and then you finish one section, and it just seems like it's never ending road construction on that road.
Brandon says hello from Oklahoma. Hello, Brandon. It's probably getting warm down there. All right, here we go. Here's my favorite. Drew, what are you doing to prepare for the residential house market crash? Well, Drew, this is a good preview for the video I'll be putting out this week. There's not going to be one. You need to stop listening to all the gurus. Not to say there might not be a slowdown or something resembling a crash in some areas, but I would be stunned if anything happens here. We have such a low inventory. We have such a demand of people wanting to move up here. We're not seeing anything that resembles a crash right now. What would you say, Angie?
Well, I completely agree. I mean, I think that probably 750 to 1.5 million dollar range, if it's not priced appropriately for its age and condition. We are seeing price reductions and some of them staying on the market longer. But again, we just have such low inventory compared to what we used to have. And, we used to always have a uptick in inventory starting kind of February, March through the beginning of June. And I mean, we're seeing a few things come onto the market. But in whitefish in particular, there just isn't much. And when it comes on the market, people snap it up. And last time I checked with the title company, 40% of people were still paying with cash. So, it's just, like Will said, they aren't making any more mountain towns. And yeah, it doesn't seem as though prices are going down in our area.
Ever since Rona and Yellowstone, seems like everybody has decided they wanted to move to Montana, so it wiped out our inventory, and the builders are building as quickly as possible. And there's still such a demand up here. Even a couple weeks ago, I put in an offer for a guy, and there were 10 offers on the place. That's not the norm like it once was, but it's still happening. And it's when people price something decently, and it has a little land. This place, I believe, was on 5 acres, beautiful, right up against the mountains, kind of the house that everybody wants when they come up here. And so there's still demand for that, and we're still getting multiple offers. It's just not, because of the interest rates, it's slowed down, or it's cut back on the number of buyers. And like Angie said, the prices are coming down a little bit, because people were still trying to get what they were getting a year and a half ago. And that's not the case anymore, but there's still demand. And like I said, if you watch the video I have coming out tomorrow or Tuesday, I will break it down a little further. We got Darren here from Arizona, over 100. Nice. It was 70 today, I think, and kind of windy. So I know Andrew's not a fan of over 100.
It's hot.
We have another Southeast Oklahoma. Hello. Is there really a housing crash coming? I think we just talked about that. I'll let my video on Tuesday speak for itself. It kind of cracks me up.
Well, but I mean, like we said before, I think there are a multitude of different factors, but it has slowed down a little bit because of interest rates. But if it's a house that that fit a lot of different people's needs, it ends up with multiple offers. So yeah, it's I wish I had a crystal ball. Could do a head wrap and peer into the ball and let you guys all know what the market was going to do.
I was trying to pull up that graph of our prices for since 2010, and it's like going straight up a mountain, even with the little dips the rest of the country had. And the way I think about it, and the research I've done, is especially right where we're at, we're right near Whitefish, and we're a resort area, resort town, and we get, it's year round. We have beautiful summer, we have a lake, obviously the ski resort in the winter, and then I compared Whitefish to like Aspen and Vail, and I'm not saying, so don't get a bunch of comments about, the ski. I'm not a skier, so I don't even know the difference. Angie can chime in on that, but the point is that we're a resort town. We're a resort town that people want to come to, and we've kind of been discovered in the last few years. And when you look back at Vail and Aspen, right before they got discovered, we're kind of doing the same thing. I mean, that was 20 some years ago for them, but they never came down either. And I don't see us coming down as well, just because like Andrew said a minute ago, they're not building any more ski towns. They're not building any more mountain towns. And a lot of people want to get out of the cities now. And so there's always going to be a demand up here. If you're looking at homes and if anyone's watching from there, I apologize, but I always say Topeka, Kansas, they may have a big slowdown because there's not a million people that want to move there. So we're just in a great spot and one of the prettiest spots on the planet. And so why wouldn't people want to move here? And I think if there's a huge, market shift in the rest of the country, we may slow down a bit, but we're not going to be like most places. So that's my 2 cents. CJ, people asking about the heat, our snow just melted. Okay, I visited Glacier last year for the first time and heard the construction. Yep. Like Andrew said, it's been going on in a while. Good evening from North Central Oklahoma. We got a lot of Oklahoma people tonight. Hello, Oklahoma. Maria, lots of construction on highway. I heard that. I was going to bring that up. I had a guy that came up here last week and he decided to come up the Swan Highway and said it was horrible and took him forever. So yeah, it's construction season, that's for sure.
It's frustrating.
So Drew, had a feeling that would be your response. Well, again, Drew, I hope I'm right, but it's been this way, I don't really see it changing just because of everything I just laid out. Let's see. Montana is one of the last bastions of hope in this country. Real estate won't go down. It will be even in more demand. I agree. Here we go. Hello from the UP. Got a Michigan person. Here we go. Here's a question. I'll let you answer this, Ange.
Does land listed as off-grid ever have the potential to become on-grid? Sure. Yeah. As our towns expand out and either the city, incorporates property or, the electrical company, there's enough demand in that area for electricity. The electric company will pull electric lines. And yes, you can drill for a well and install a septic off grid. That's what most people, that's what you have to do. And then it's just run off of a generator. A lot of people use solar panels to help a little bit in the summertime, and some in the winter, but because we're far enough north, when the time changes, it is a little bit sad. You get home from work at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the evening and it's already dark. And, then it doesn't get light until 8:30 in the morning. So you basically only have, sometimes 7.5, 8 hours of light during the winter, middle of December, end of December. So, people will have whole house generators that they use off grid.
That is correct. Yeah, I've done a couple videos on off grid properties, and there's some pretty cool ones out there. So
And we even have some friends, well, right here in town that, because of the weather and, thunderstorms or, somebody running into an electric pole or whatever, we know numerous people in town that have generators for their homes just in case the power goes out.
Here we go. Another market. I'm seeing a lot of Montana sit on the market, but not in the Flathead or Gallatin. That's correct. Yep. Eastern Montana would be considered like the rest of the country. But over here on the west side, we're still in very high demand. Kind of beat that subject to a pulp. Hello from North Carolina. Happy Mother's Day. CJ, if anything, I think prices have gone up. Yeah. And look at this, another Oklahoma. We have half of Oklahoma on here tonight. Yes, even Elizabeth agrees. Apparently everyone's trying to get out of Oklahoma too. Have you spent much time? So my wife here, back in her previous life, used to be a stewardess. And so she's been all over the place. And did you spend much time in Oklahoma?
No, a few different layovers in different towns, but probably pretty short, especially out of Atlanta or Dallas.
All right. Let's see. I'm a contractor for how hard is it to move my excavation company there? I don't think it'd be hard for you to find work here. Since I'm not in that business, I don't want to speak for that for sure, but I would be shocked if, you could reach out. I know a couple of guys that do that type of work, and they're busy as can be. So I'm guessing that would be no problem, but I would reach out to, like the building, what do they call that down in Kalispell? The building,
Flathead Building Association.
yeah, Builders Association. And if you want to email us, let me put our email address up here. We can get you that info. And help you out with that. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue at all. Let me put that down here actually. Go back to the comments. I'm losing my place here. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Mike, I don't think you'd have a problem at all. But again, if you want that info, send an email to the address at the bottom and we can point you in the right direction. See, there's a long wait for well drilling in my area of Montana. What about up there? Yeah, there is definitely a wait. There's not tons of well drillers up here. I'm guessing because those are pretty spendy pieces of equipment. But yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't had anybody reach out, and I haven't checked into that recently, so I'm not sure what the wait is, but I'm sure there's a wait. Let's see. Can't wait to enjoy Montana weather. We will. I agree, Lola. I am not a fan of the humidity myself. We took a trip last fall down to the southeast, and I told Angie when we got home, I said, there's no way I could ever live east of Denver again. It's just the humidity is brutal. So, Brett, currently live in Oklahoma, but looking forward to moving back home. Hungry Horse Martin City was home. Are there any 2 to 4 acre properties for sale? Want to build a home? Yes, there are. In fact, Angie just listed a place up there. It's not a lot like that, but I'm sure you've checked all the properties up there recently.
Hello? Me? I thought you were talking to her. Oh. No, there are, Yes, there are some, that whole Blankenship Road area. I know there are some properties in there. Um, yeah, you kind of, there again, they're just not much inventory. So I know that Will sends people links to our MLS, so that and we have a new phone app too, so that you can, certainly look. And then if you have any questions, reach out to us, and we can certainly go to the property and, do a FaceTime showing, that type of thing. So we do that all the time. What I'm listing is yeah, it's a big property, and yeah, they want a lot of money for it.
Here you go. Here's one for you. I don't see it. Missoula would be California, but the rest
Well,
is
and
kind
Los
of
Angeles.
Bozeman and Missoula, the two towns with colleges in them. So, are you seeing people working remote having to go back to the office and put their homes on the market? I haven't heard that particular situation. I know that the media is talking about that a lot, but a lot of people that moved up here, they either started their own thing or, um, are still working remotely. I know some people even before Rona. A house I sold to some people, they were doing remote from back east, and we had to find good internet, and that was long before everybody decided to go remote. So I think I'm sure there's some people, but it's not a huge thing. And what do you think, Angie? I haven't noticed a huge. We used to, back before Rona and back before everybody wanted to move here, we used to get a big influx of listings this time of year, and we're getting some a little more than we did back in the winter, but it's not like it used to be. What do you think?
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, the other day I checked the hot sheet and there were 0 new listings. That was probably Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. And I checked it again later in the day and there were 8. But that my hot sheet. I always, go Columbia Falls, Kalispell, Big Fork, Lakeside, Summers, Kalispell, Whitefish, up to West Glacier, up to Eureka. So that covers a huge area, and 8 listings in a day over that, that expanse of distance. So yeah, just not a lot.
Well, and I think part of that, wouldn't you say, is just because of the interest rates. It used to be people would move up, because their houses are always increasing in value here. They would live in it for a few years and then they would sell it and cash in and then buy a better place. Well, now a lot of people bought when the rates were 2% and 3%. So now to do that, you're kind of going into a bad interest rate from where you were, and that is, slowing down the amount of listings as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So here you go. How far out backlogged are home builders if you're looking to build a new home? 6 months, a year. You've been dealing with more builders than I have. What are you hearing?
Yeah, that has changed. Yes, probably 6 months to a year, depending on the builder. I have a couple builders that I work with that have said, they've had a few people that were, a year or 2 out say, you know what, we're just going to hold off. We can't, with building costs and now with interest rates, we're just going to wait and see what happens. But yeah, my one main builder, he's still, he just closed on a townhome lot, and he's starting another spec townhome, two townhomes on this lot here in Whitefish. And so, he's still busy. I could maybe answer that a little bit better in a couple of weeks. I could certainly reach out to some people and see how much it's changed for them, if he's still a year to 2 years out. But last time I talked to him, he was.
Let's go to the next question. Hi from Great Falls, Montana. They will need to build 50,000 more housing units in Great Falls because there will be more military people stationed in Malmstrom. Yeah, I mean, I forget the number here, but it's something crazy like that too. So,
No, I don't really remember it being 50,000, but it was like 1,500. I think the article, it wasn't that. Seems like it was a fairly sizable amount.
yeah. Let's see. Brandon, we came out last July and stayed in Kalispell and loved it. The most beautiful place I ever been was Bowman Lake. It was well worth the drive. I would agree with you 1,000%, Brandon. That has always been one of my favorite spots. In fact, we used to always go up there with our daughter camping, and when she was younger. But yeah, that is a awesome spot. The only place, I don't know if Angie would agree or disagree. So a little backstory on my wife here. She grew up in the park. Her dad was a backcountry ranger. If you go back to some old videos from the first year I did videos, uh, I did one with her dad talking about the whole Night of the Grizzly thing, but she's been all over the park. And I would say Bowman Lake and Mini Glacier, Swift Current Lake are probably the prettiest spots on the planet, but I'm sure you have some other spots.
No, you're probably, I mean, as you know, Mini Glacier is one of my favorite places. And Bowman, we've had some fun times up there. It's beautiful.
Here's one. So Angie actually grew up in Big Fork, so you could probably answer this better than anyone.
I have never heard that they were going to make it a Christian community. I know that Saddlehorn originally, it was going to be a development that, a horse development, like a community barn, stable, that type of thing. Yes, it did, in the downturn, I believe it became bank owned. A guy bought it. I know a couple of lots that have sold in there and they are doing some building in there. I think they changed it a little bit and, maybe not all the amenities that it was originally slated for. But yeah, it's been a tough go at Saddlehorn. And I don't really know why. It's a beautiful development and it's close to Big Fork and nice larger lots, that type of thing. Yeah, I don't know why it's never really taken off.
I think Big Fork's always been a little behind Whitefish, I guess, as far as developments and everything, because Big Fork's not a year-round town. They don't have a ski resort. It's really big and popular right around Christmas and the holidays because they decorate everything and everything's open and it's cool. But the middle of winter, Big Fork's pretty quiet. So I think that's probably part of the reason Saddlehorn never took off. But I don't know. It's a nice spot. I've been up there quite a bit. But yeah. Know you're a hockey referee. If you guys, maybe 6 of us, want to rent a cabin up there and play pond hockey where we rent, are there any such places in your neck of the woods for next winter? Yeah. We play pond hockey. There's a group of us and group of people, and yeah, there's different places. If you guys get closer to your time of coming up here, reach out and I can point you in the right direction. Just kind of depends on the winter and how cold it's been and what time of the winter you're here. We used to have there was a national pond hockey tournament company that came up here and they tried it for a couple of years out on a lake down in Kalispell, but it was too warm and they had to move it. One year they had it on the lake, and then the next 2 years I think one year it got canceled altogether, and the next year we had to play on this little pond in Woodland Park in Kalispell. But the lakes, the problem, they were trying to have the event for obvious reasons close to town and close to the bars that were sponsoring it. But the lakes down low, it was too warm. So, all the higher lakes are frozen much better. Um, so that's what I know about that. But like I said, reach out if you guys are coming up here, and I'd be happy to help you out. What do we got next? As a native South Floridan, I've witnessed what happens when everyone else pours in. Enjoyed all the area has to offer. 59 years and counting the days to leave. All right. I have no idea. Would you care to take a stab at that one?
Oh, number? I have no idea. Yeah, I don't even know how to. I mean, we could certainly probably do a search and get a number to come up, but as far as in all of Montana,
there's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody put that stat up. Mark, have a few things that I'm going to be inquiring, contacting you about my move to Montana from Wisconsin. It's time to retire. All right, reach out, send us an email, and we'd be happy to help. Love how you word that the prettiest spots on the planet. Well, it is. I mean, it's it's unbelievable. We're kind of down to the bottom here. Maybe you can tell some of your hiking stories as a kid, Angie. Like I said, her dad was a backcountry ranger, so she's been all over the park, and she's traipsed around pretty much every trail. Isn't there like 730 miles of trail in the park?
Something like that. Yeah, as a kid, we, and keep in mind this was a few years ago, growing up there, there weren't, at that point, there weren't 3 million people going through the park. And we were at one of the backcountry ranger stations. And so we were very secluded. We were in between St. Mary and East Glacier, Two Medicine area. And so anytime, other kids showed up, which was like twice a summer, we kind of became a little stalkerish. But as kids, it was, we didn't, I mean, you look back on it now and you go, okay, well, yeah, maybe I wasn't, maybe it wasn't so horrible. But yeah, and it was my dad's job. So, you were trying to get from point A to point B in, a certain amount of time. And even when we moved home, I mean, we've been home for 21 years now. And even when we moved home, it took me a minute to get back into it, but I've certainly embraced it now. And I have a group of friends and, people that we hike with. And I've done some fun hikes. Last summer, we hiked up to Granite Park Chalet and then up and over the pass, Swift Current Pass, into Mini Glacier. And it was about a, 13, 14 mile hike. And so, I enjoy it now. I definitely enjoy it now, but I certainly take the opportunity to give my parents a bad time about, the abuse that we took as children, and, just that it was, no other children around. And, at that age, you want to be with your friends playing summer sports and that type of thing. But, I certainly appreciate it now.
Yeah, and her dad is quite the guy. He has a million stories of working up there and rescuing people, and the whole Night of the Grizzly thing.
Lots of bear encounters, but he never, my dad always says that he, out of all the bears that he, crossed paths with, he never felt threatened. When you make noise and, you're with 6 other women and you're talking, the bears certainly don't want to be around you. So yeah, I'm sure he's hiked, cross country skied. My dad's a little crazy. He would go up into Glacier in the winter and, with his buddies, and they would camp out for a week and cross country ski, and yeah, burr. Ah,
Well,
ah.
now that we're on the subject of your dad, you got to tell the Chief Mountain story. This cracks me up.
So Chief Mountain is over on the east side of the park, and it's one of those places that weather comes in over there, and if anytime you're in Glacier, you should always take a rain jacket. You should have matches with you. You should, just go prepared, because you never know what's going to happen. And my dad was with, some of his longtime ranger buddies, and they had hiked up to Chief Mountain, and coming down, they got caught in a bad thunderstorm. So they holed up under a tree, and, they had matches with them. They started a fire. And then as soon as it got light, they decided to hike out, and they met a rescue crew, shortly,
Well, because they
near
spent the
the
night.
trailhead. What's that? Yeah, they spent the
Well,
night.
they weren't planning on spending the night, but they had to spend the night. So people were
Yeah,
freaking out that they didn't come home.
yeah, and this was what, 25 years, 30 years ago, and no cell phones, all that kind of stuff. So they met the rescue crew, and everybody was fine. They had prepared, and in the paper, of course, it said, got people rescued from Chief Mountain. Well, of course, my dad was offended by the word rescued, and so he had to write a letter to the editor saying that you can't rescue somebody that isn't lost, and that they were just fine. And yeah, that's my dad for you. He's a crazy guy.
Yeah. This one. If I could do any job and didn't care about money, it'd be a packer for the Forest Service and the Bob Marshall. Yeah, Bob Marshall's awesome. We were gonna, unfortunately, I know I'm gonna regret this forever. We were gonna go. There's a place back there that I've always wanted to see. It's called the Chinese Wall, and it's this, I don't know, how long is it, like 10-mile long rock cliff thing. I mean, Google it. I don't have a photo handy, but it's just spectacular. But you can hike into it. It's in the middle of the Bob Marshall, of course, so you can't drive anywhere near it. So it's if you don't have horses, you're hiking like 30 miles one way to get to it, probably. So it's a long hike to get back to it. And we were going to do it a few years ago, and I don't know, a bunch of things happened and we didn't, but I would love to see that someday, and maybe we'll have to do it with horses, so it's not such a hike. But yeah, the Bob Marshall's awesome. Where are we? I drove around that Air Park Flying Community South Kalispell on 93. What's going on there? Nothing that I know of. It's been growing. That's been there for a while. Do you remember when they first built that? That's down in Lower Valley. That's been there quite some time.
Yeah, it's been there for quite a long time.
Yeah, every time I go over there or go down to that area, it seems like there's more houses around it. So, yeah, I actually showed a few houses over there over the years, and kind of crazy that you can park your plane in your garage and pull out of the back of your garage and take off. So kind of a cool little spot. Let's see, Tia, do you have any experience in selling ranch real estate? I'm starting the journey to researching buying back into ranch life, but it's quite intimidating. Yeah, we'd be happy to help. We've sold some big properties, and there is a lot to know and a lot that goes into it. So reach out. We'd be happy to help. There's plenty. I've done a few videos over the past year about ranch sales and ranch properties that are for sale, and there's quite a few available all over the state. So it's going to depend on where you want to be and how big you want to buy.
And what's included, are all the farm implements, are you are you looking to buy the livestock, start your own? Yeah, there's a ton that goes into it.
Yeah, whether it's lease land or deeded land or yeah. So anyway, reach out. We'd be happy to help. Seldom seen. I backpack on the East Coast in what I think is wilderness, and I always get scared at night. Yeah, you might get scared here too.
Yeah, so do I. I don't, when you can't see what's coming at you, that's not a fun feeling.
Another fun fact about my wife is she hates to swim, so this is a good
Too cold. It has to be like an mid-August, 90 plus degree day. It's just the water is cold here. It's really cold here. It's coming from the mountains. It's coming from the snowpack. And I don't like my lips to be blue.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, well, back to we didn't answer that question. Does it get above 75 degrees? I doubt it. We live, in Whitefish and been in Whitefish Lake quite a bit. And it's cold until, like Angie said, August, but even in August, it's not, I don't think it's above 75 degrees. Maybe the first 6 inches of water.
Right. But like the two of the girls that I was with last Thursday up at Avalanche Lake, they, got all the way in head underwater, the whole deal. I would still be cold.
Yeah, it's not warm. Gordon spent the winter in the woods near Eureka. Love the adventure and quiet compared to our Midwestern city. Seriously thought of relocating, but 60 miles from the nearest hospital is a concern. Yeah, Eureka's kind of out there. I think they have a little doctor's office. How it works in Montana, maybe you can talk to this because you've know some doctors, but they travel around and they'll have like a satellite office in Eureka and all of the little towns around, and they, but yeah, if you're in need of more, what do you call it?
Maybe more like weekly or, more
regular care.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
I would also say one of the best parts about our communities in all of Montana is every single community has a volunteer. If you don't have a full-on fire department like we do in Whitefish or Kalispell or Columbia Falls, like if you go up the canyon to West Glacier, they have the volunteer fire departments. And it is amazing around here. The people that, when there's a car accident or there's, someone's hurt or, a horseback riding injury, whatever the case may be, there are so many people that volunteer for the, CMT and EMTs and, fire departments and all of that. It is kind of amazing, and it is a good feeling. Like down the Swan, the gal that was Maria that we know, that's still a pretty remote area, kind of like Eureka. And the amount of people that volunteer to help when there's a crisis around here, I still think is amazing.
I would agree. Let's see, Curtis. What are the best things to see in the park if you're pushing a loved one in a wheelchair? Well, there's handicap facilities all over. Just driving up going to the Sun Road is awesome. You don't even have to get out of the car, but you can stop up at Logan Pass.
And there's wheelchair ramps up to the visitor center.
Yep. And then all around Apgar, which is the little, I don't want to say town, but right at the base or right when you come in the West Glacier entrance, there's a place called Apgar, and it's a little, there's a campground there, and then there's stores and ice cream shops and a few, places. It's not really a town, but that again, that's all handicap accessible. And then the lake right there is beautiful. And so, yeah, there's plenty of things to do and see if you're in a wheelchair, and um, they've made it good for that. So I can't think of any spot, along going the Sun Road that wouldn't work. So you should be good. We'll be visiting Glacier in August for the first time. Any good horseback trail rides that you recommend? Well, I know it depends where you're going in Glacier. Glacier is a huge park. We kind of a interesting story. We had never been to Zion, and we went there a couple years ago, and we were surprised at how small it was compared to Glacier. So depending on where you go in Glacier, there's great trail rides. I know over at Mini Glacier on the east side, there's a whole corral, and you can go on rides back into the backcountry lakes and down the trails. And I know at Apgar too, don't they have horse rides out of there?
Yeah, and even like McDonald Lodge, if you wanted to take a horseback ride up to Sperry Chalet.
Yeah. So, how about up at Bowman and up there? I think you'd probably have to hire. There's a couple of guide companies like that Swan River.
Swan Mountain Outfitters.
Yeah. And I'm guessing they would take you back like along the Bowman Trail and stuff, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe.
But yeah, there's you won't have a hard time finding some good rides. Um, Unfortunately, my wife doesn't allow me to get on horses, so we always have to walk. Otherwise, I could have a better answer for you. Let's see. John, how are rentals in Montana? Are they still difficult? Yes. Again, there's still a lot of people trying to move here, and the inventory is low, and so rentals are still tough. And you just need to get on it early. Don't just think you're going to move up here and find a rental right away. It takes some time. So, especially if you have a dog or a pet. So, SR said he's gone to the China Wall somewhere. That's my bucket list. Bob, overall, how are raw land prices doing now in Western Montana? Are they still going up or going down or stable? I would say they're kind of stable at the moment. What do you think?
I agree. I think land prices have leveled off a little bit and still moving, but yeah, I don't know that necessarily going up.
Sorry, I've gone swimming in Flathead Lake both on purpose and by accident. It's sporty. I like that. It's a bit sporty. Here's another swimmer. My daughters and husband went swimming in Whitefish Lake last year in September. It was cold. Yeah, I could imagine. They loved it. I stayed on the beach. Yes, it's definitely not. It's not like those lakes in the Midwest that feel like bath water. That's for sure. Gordon, very true. Eureka has a nice clinic, and if open 24 hours, that'd be great. Decided on visiting 2-3 months a year. All right. Wanting to hit Yellowstone for the first time this summer. Is it still unaffordable for working class budget? I mean, $4 a night for a Motel 6, setting up a small tent. I don't know. We don't, because we have Glacier right here. I've been to Yellowstone once. We don't go down there that often, so I'm not sure what the prices are at West Yellowstone. You're probably right. They're probably crazy, but
yeah, and I would certainly think that the tent camping, it's obviously probably much more affordable, but you would probably want to reserve your spot sooner than later.
Yeah. Curtis from Polebridge, how far is it to Bowman Lake? Are there any stores and washrooms at Bowman Lake? There's no stores. There are bathrooms, but they're
But they're outhouses.
primitive.
There's
Yeah,
no,
they're pit toilets.
yeah.
Nothing fancy. They have running water, like little faucets outside around that campground, but yeah, you have to get and Polebridge. It's 6 miles from Polebridge up to Bowman, and Polebridge has a little store, but it's not anything. It's a cool place, but it's not. I wouldn't count on buying all your supplies there. It's not very big. They don't have tons of stuff. They have very good baked goods, but yeah, as far as buying, I would stock up down in Columbia Falls or Kalispell or Whitefish, wherever you are, before you come, and then uh, just buy treats when you get up to Polebridge. But there's nothing up at the campground as far as where you can purchase something. How do the lakes feel different? I'm not sure what he's talking about. They're cold. Here we go. Lake Superior will take your breath away in August, always cold. Yes, that is true. I've tried to dip my toe in Lake Superior before, and I agree. So anyway, we are at an hour and we are at the bottom of the questions. So there you go. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Angie, for joining us.
Hey, and
She
real quick, the
promised.
last question, how is the job market? Didn't you just do a video on that?
Where do you see that? Oh, that just popped up. How's the job market? When I was the last year, I was talking with our cabin owner. He said the days making 60K since properties are gone up. The job market is, yeah, I did do a video. If you go back about a month ago, I went to the job fair and toured around there and talked to some people at a what do you call it, hiring company or job service. So watch that. There's tons of jobs. It just depends on what type of job you're looking for, and obviously the pay will depend on that as well. But there are getting to be some more higher paying jobs around here, which is good. So anyway, one last one, and then we'll take off. Where to go? When compared to last year at this time, has cost to build per square foot changed? Ange?
I have a guy that is building a house right now that has said no, that it hasn't really changed. Some things have gone up, some things have gone down. So his budget has pretty much stayed the same from when he first started building. He said it's been really weird, while the supply chain, some things have loosened up. Other things are still hard to find. So, according to him, his budget is still the same, and his price per square foot is still the same.
All right. Well, once again, thank you, everybody. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button on this video and subscribing to our channel if you haven't. And we will be back in 2 weeks for another episode. And feel free to reach out at that email below and with any other questions, or if you'd like some help with anything up here. All right. See everybody later. Thank you.
Thanks.